Classic World of Warcraft is, in my opinion, the greatest MMORPG ever made. But even the greatest MMO ever cannot stay fresh and interesting forever when it's a re-release of a 2004 game that didn't receive any attention for almost 7 years now. Even if you're not in this boat, a lot of people are. A huge number of players are just waiting for Classic Plus to release so they can finally return to Azeroth, or they are playing Classic Plus style private servers in the meantime. And that might be exactly why you don't want to try a new MMORPG. After all, Blizzard will probably announce Classic Plus at BlizzCon, so we'll wait for that. But that's still about 2 months away, and the actual release will probably be a few weeks to a few months later, so there's still plenty of time. The perfect opportunity as an old school MMO enjoyer to try something new, and that something new is Old School RuneScape. And this is literally the best time. You could not have a better time as a classic WoW player to give this game a shot. But I don't want to play it just to quit in a few months when Classic Plus releases. It's a waste of my time. I hear you, mate, and I feel you. I too have been traumatized by Blizzard and their absolute dogshit way of designing MMOs ever since the Burning Crusade. But RuneScape doesn't punish you for quitting, and that's the first thing on the list of 3 reasons why this is the best time to try this game. If you give OSRS a shot and don't like it, fair enough. It is not for everyone, but keep in mind it shares a surprising amount of qualities with vanilla World of Warcraft and is generally regarded as one of the greatest old school MMORPGs ever made. So I would really recommend it if you like Classic WoW. That's the easy part though. Classic Plus is still at least a few months away, so nobody is worried about whether they'll know if the game is for them by then. If it isn't, you'll figure it out pretty quickly. But what if it is for you? That's where the problem starts, right? You probably don't want and you probably won't be able to play both RuneScape and Classic Plus. So it's even worse because the time you invest into the game now is gonna be for nothing, but you also have to quit a game that you like. Except you're wrong, because in old school RuneScape, those few months you spent playing will be just as meaningful years down the line. OSRS is the game when it comes to the horizontal progression and making sure your time investment and effort stays relevant forever. I currently play OSRS, but when Classic Plus launches, I will 100% drop it and play Classic Plus instead, of course. No question about it. And if Classic Plus is good, which just like you, I really hope it is, chances are I won't touch old school RuneScape for a very long time. The World of Warcraft part of my brain tells me that when I eventually come back in a few months or maybe even a few years later, I will be in a much worse spot than when I left. People will have moved on, they'll have cleared new raids, farmed better gear, maybe catch-up mechanics will be added to the game, making everything I did feel a lot less meaningful. But that's not happening in this game. The best thing about OSRS is that as other people progress while you don't play, the gap between you and them only gets bigger because of their efforts. And nothing else. If I quit with 100 hours of effort put into the game, I still have 100 hours of effort exactly to return to. Just as valuable. Content never gets invalidated either, so my path forward doesn't get replaced by newer content. It just gets expanded. If I return later, I will just have more stuff to do. I don't have to worry about missing the period when a piece of content was relevant because the new shiny thing replaced it. Sure, there are a few exceptions here and there, but beyond that, there is never a point where you look at a piece of content in old school RuneScape and say, yeah, we don't do that anymore, there's just a better thing to do now. In Classic WoW, starting at level 10 on launch day and starting when Naxxramas is already out at level 10 are 2 completely different experiences. There are a lot less people leveling, and many of those who still do it through mage boosts, which is a massive downgrade to the classic experience. The early game economy is non-existent because it is all focused on raiding. Getting a spot in a raiding guild is harder, and finding a guild that is still progressing through all the raids you missed out on is very hard. Most people are level 60 and raid logging Naxxramas or whatever the last raid will be, and maybe 1 or 2 other raids at best. None of these happen in OSRS because of how much it respects your previous time and effort, how it avoids invalidating old content even better than vanilla does, and how its horizontal progression keeps a much larger portion of the game relevant at all times. So the first reason why you should give old school RuneScape a chance is that your fear of quitting or wasting time simply doesn't matter here. If you like it a lot and it becomes your main MMO, that's a win. If you like it but not as much as Classic Plus and it would work better as a secondary MMO, it's the best by far when it comes to that. Taking breaks will never be punished. And if you dislike it, I mean, that works as it does with any other game. You quit and that's it. This alone is enough to kinda say that Old School RuneScape is the best MMO to try out at any point for anyone. But even more so if you are in a limbo waiting for Classic Plus. And that's such an amazing feeling, the freedom to take breaks, to play at your own pace, to make OSRS either your main MMO or just something you come back to occasionally, because it's built in a way that never punishes you for stepping away or taking breaks. Yeah, but still, I won't have any friends, no guild, no community. I start with nothing and I don't want to build all these relationships just to abandon them when Classic Plus comes. That's another thing some of you might be thinking, which fair enough. But another amazing thing about Old School RuneScape, it's so solo friendly, it will completely blow your World of Warcraft's brain away. And this is reason number 2 on our list. Now, I already know some of you are going to say, that's a bad thing. MMOs are supposed to be social. They're supposed to be about cooperation. Usually, I would be right there with you. I'm usually the first person to argue that old school MMOs did a lot of things better than modern ones. But this is one of the few exceptions. The best MMOs don't force you to be social. They give you countless opportunities to be social, reward you for it, and at the same time let you enjoy the entire game if you prefer just by playing alone. Classic World of Warcraft does that very well, until you hit level 60. Then suddenly, if you don't have a raiding guild that matches your availability, your progression basically stops. And I think that sucks massive balls, because pugging is just not fun and it's also a waste of time. I have a 9 to 5. My work hours aren't always the same as everyone else's. I've got responsibilities after work that are not the same as yours. And I even live in a different freaking time zone than most of the classic community I can realistically play with. Finding 39 people whose schedules line up with mine isn't easy. Raiding should absolutely be rewarded, guilds should matter, and you should be rewarded for group play always. But the fact that my hardcore level 60 warrior is just gathering dust because I cannot find a guild that fits my schedule is just old bad design. I've got thousands of gold on that character, great pre-raid gear, countless hours invested, and I just cannot play. OSRS is the complete opposite. You have total freedom, zero punishment once again. You can play completely solo all the way to a mega powerful character if you want, but if you want to join a clan, boss with friends, tackle group content, the game rewards you for it. But it never forces you to, just like World of Warcraft does for hundreds of hours from level 1 to level 60. Honestly, I'd rather play an MMO that has moved a little bit from the old school philosophy, but actually lets me log in and play and make meaningful progress whenever I have free time, than one that's perfectly old school but leaves my best character collecting dust on the character selection screen. So that's the second reason why this is the perfect time to try Old School RuneScape. You don't need to worry about finding people who match your schedule, or worry about bringing your friends over if they don't want to. You don't need to coordinate with dozens of players just to make progress, and you definitely don't need to feel like your account becomes unplayable because life got in the way. Because let's be honest, even if the old school guild first mentality really was objectively better, and I don't think that's as clear cut as people make it out to be, one thing isn't going to change. We are all adults now, most of us have jobs, we are all wage slaves, families, different schedules, different time zones. Pretending those things don't exist don't make them not real. And finally, the third reason is gonna be a bit weirder, but hear me out. Give OSRS a shot right now so your standards are high enough when Classic Plus comes out. Listen, never trying another MMO is why some people are still playing the dogshit game that is retail WoW. Your time is limited, and I said it before, I think you should make the best possible decision when choosing a game in a genre that's notorious for demanding thousands of hours. I said it in another video before, but I genuinely cannot stop thinking about how much of our lives modern society steals from us. Medieval peasants wouldn't envy our work schedule. The Romans wouldn't either. We literally have historical texts describing what they considered a slave, and if you compare some of the descriptions to the way many of us live in our 9-to-5's environment today, we would literally be considered part of the slave population in the Roman Empire. I could rant about that for hours, but maybe that's a topic for another channel that I will maybe make one day, who knows. The reason I bring this up is because it makes me hyper aware of how I spend my free time. Not in the sense that every second has to be productive, because that would completely defeat the purpose, I would not have fun. But in the sense that I want every hour I spend with my family, with my friends, or engaging with my hobbies to actually be worth it and be fun. If Classic Plus comes out and it's amazing, that's fantastic. That's the best case scenario for me. I will disappear for months, no grass touching for me. But if it isn't, or I simply find another MMO that respects me more, then I want to know before I sunk another 1,000 hours into Blizzard's slop game. And let's be honest, if you're looking for old school MMOs, there really aren't many options. Sure, something like EverQuest still exists, and there are a few others, but for most people, the two giants are Classic WoW and Old School RuneScape. So that's why I generally recommend trying Old School before Classic Plus. See what it's like on the other side. Best do it now when we are all just waiting anyway. See what it's like to play a game where the developers talk to the community every single week, where updates are polled, where feedback actually changes the game, where developers, moderators, guild masters, content creators, and players all exist and feel like they're part of the same community, instead of existing in a completely different universe. See what's like to play an MMO that respects your time and effort, one where your progress never becomes obsolete, one that doesn't become practically unplayable because your schedule is a certain way, or literally just because you live in the wrong place on the planet. An MMO with one of the biggest and best free-to-play experiences ever made. An MMO that manages to fight bots better than a company 10 times its size while being the easier game to bot in. Play a game that, while far from perfect, has spent nearly 2 decades protecting the integrity of its progression instead of selling it through microtransactions. Play a game that didn't just keep expanding its old school version while classic World of Warcraft never received meaningful content for years, but did it with a fraction of Blizzard's resources. A game that launches on Steam, runs incredibly well on phones and tablets on both iOS and Android for fuck's sake, and even turned someone like me, a certified mobile gaming hater, into a guy mining iron and copper on his phone while waiting for his girlfriend to finish getting her nails done. Play a game that gets massive content updates every year, but also smaller updates almost every single week, making the world feel alive and fresh all the time. Play a game where seasonal content exists because the core game already exists, not instead of it or before it, like we have with Season of Mastery and Discovery, for fuck's sake. Play a game where developers are willing to ask, did we fuck this up? And actually change course if the answer is yes, instead of doubling down on the systems the community clearly hates, the way Blizzard did with Nightmare Incursions. And most importantly, play a game where it genuinely feels like people making it also play it. They understand why people love it, and making it better is still the main goal because they also want to have fun. Corporate greed exists there too. No company is perfect, but somehow it doesn't consume everything the way it does with Blizzard. Will Classic Plus be the greatest MMO ever made? Maybe. And if it is, then nobody loses anything by giving Old School RuneScape a chance right now. But if all of us played Old School RuneScape with an open mind, I honestly think Classic Plus would end up being a much better game because of it. Not because everyone would suddenly prefer RuneScape, some of you will not. It isn't for everyone, and that's completely fine. A game for everyone is a game for no one, but because you are gonna know what a successful evolution of an old school MMO actually looks like. You are gonna know what respectful monetization looks like. You are gonna know what meaningful developer communication looks like. You are gonna know what it feels like when your time is actually respected. And that means Blizzard cannot keep getting away with empty "we hear you" and "we're sorry" posts every time they make another unbelievably stupid decision.
Hello, I'm Tony Hayward, President and CEO of
Blizzard Entertainment. Nightmare Incursions
is a tragedy that should have never happened. And to all those affected, I want to say, we are deeply sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry.
Every player who temporarily leaves Blizzard for a game that respects them sends a message. If Classic Plus launches and it's incredible, amazing, Blizzard earned us back. If it's another cash grab, we already know there's something better waiting for us. We know what can be done. That's how games improve. Cyberpunk improved because people stopped accepting the bullshit it was when it launched. Old School RuneScape exists because players demanded something better. Blizzard isn't going to change because we ask nicely, okay? They don't give a fuck about us. They will change because they have to when people quit, because they know that something much better can be done by people who are much smaller than them. So, the TLDR, give Old School RuneScape a shot because it's a great fucking game. There's nothing to do in WoW anyway right now, and you will also know what a good Classic Plus kind of experience is, and you will have maybe a new home if Classic Plus fails, which it very well might do. Don't expect Blizzard to do something great. Always expect them to fuck up. Accept their wins, but don't expect them. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Till next time, peace.